the expansion of the public works plan, is that a plan that originated out of the Senate? Like, is it a Senate idea? And I guess more importantly, how is it paid for?
We actually presented this to the leaders, and Keith and Bill both took a look at it and reshaped it. We thought that it made a lot of sense to be able to get ourselves in a position to continue this infrastructure, because it's consistent with the highways and the bridges, and local communities when it comes to their infrastructure problems is good. How does it get paid for? It just gets paid for like everything else. Keith restructured part of this plan, which was good, and he also had the idea of making sure we try to deal with the backlog, maintenance backlog. So they're going to move the bill. I don't think there'll be a lot of changes in it. So we'll go from 150 to 175, then 175 to 200. Keith stair-stepped it, and the Speaker, insisted that they do that, and it's right. It's the way we work things out. But this will be very good for shining up the state. You guys want to say anything?
This was a Senate plan in the first place by Senator Paul Gilmore, who we lost here a few years back. And when I first looked at it, I thought, wow, this is going to not go well. But they've turned to the local people to do this plan, and that has been a huge benefit to all Ohioans, is to have the local people who know what the needs are doing that instead of having it done to state headquarters down.
I think that Keith said it best, that when you manage your finances, because we're always checking with what the debt covenants are and everything, when you manage yourself right, you have space. So, and then we took a different approach to our capital bill, which the leaders, and let me try to say this right, because the leaders get a little fire from their own members. We've asked the art community to meet as a statewide organization to shape the priorities in art, rather than being a top-down plan and something that is not strategic in terms of advancing art. It's working out great, and they get about $30 million, which separated from community projects is a big amount. The community projects are being shaped by the chambers of commerce and the business people, and Keith and Bill and their members will have a chance to adjust whatever gets recommended. The legislature has to be heard. I don't think I'm going to play much of a role. I wanted this to come from the bottom up. I didn't want a top-down capital bill, and these guys were gracious enough to say, okay, let's try it this time. And sort of what we did with higher ed, where we asked the university presidents to figure out what their priorities were. And but these folks and the legislature will have the final say. There will be reshaping, but I think growing it from the bottom up is the best way to do it. Keith?
On the public works, I mean, this is one of those programs, it's a fiscal hawk, that you ask, can we afford it? And that's the first question we asked. Director Keene laid that out, that it really doesn't change our debt service. It continues on what we've been doing. It's nothing new. We step it up a little bit to meet with inflation, but the reality is it is very manageable within our current debt service, and it's something the state pays for local governments. And local governments have been having a tough time of it in some capacity, but this is about infrastructure. It's about building out that need for the future. On the capital budget bill, it is important to remember that this is a legislative process. It's a legislative bill. We like input from as many people as we can get, and the outline the governor has, I think, is a good start. We're going to look to see what that means and what the numbers can be afforded in the capital bill going forward, like tradition has dictated.
Governor, can you tell us more about the drones you were mentioning at the end?
Well, look, we already fly on a limited basis unmanned vehicles down in Dayton and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There's some limited ability to do this. There's a competition now for a broader way to do this, and there will be 6 sites that will be selected at some point by the government. What you worry about, and the reason why we're in good shape, is because the sensor technology is the best in the world, located in Dayton. And as a result of that, it should make sense for us to win one of these. But I thought it also made sense for us to win the shuttle, one of the shuttles, and we ended up with a nose cone, okay? So, you never know in this, but we've done everything. We've got a site up and going. We have experience. We're partnering with Indiana on airspace. And if if you win it, then you start to attract even more aerospace companies, even though Ohio already now has a pretty robust aerospace industry. We think it's important. We're also working now with NASA up in Cleveland, and we've got a program there to put a little bit of money in with some other folks so we can get some testing up there by actually some foreign governments. I just heard about this yesterday and I approved that we'd spend a little bit of money. So a lot of exciting things happening. I can't predict what's going to happen, but we have certainly put our best foot forward. Like I say, I've talked to a very high-ranking administration official and said, please, try to do this without any political consideration. They said, well, you know, we've never done that with you. And I said, that's true. Let's not start now. So we'll see how it comes out. Okay?
Governor, your comments about the severance tax, does that amount to an endorsement of the House bill, or do you want to see more?
No, it's not enough, and I've already told them that. It's not acceptable. But we're working through the process, and they understand, you know, how I feel about it. But I want to encourage them to say, hey, we're trying to get somewhere on this thing, and we'll see. It's a long road.
Governor, what do you think about municipal tax reform? Do you think some local governments have some problems with it? What do you think about it?
Well, I think that it's important that those people who represent local government, you know, that we all act in good faith. It's not the state of Ohio trying to grab their money or anything like that, and I think that's one of the hurdles that we have to get over. And these guys have it in their bodies, and they can tell you more about the ins and outs. So.
The question that we got asked today was when. I jokingly said the House has spent 3 years on it. Give us more than 3 weeks in the Senate. So we're going to take a while to take a look at it and see what it means. I mean, again, it comes back to this question. If we're going to allow people to tax people who don't live there on income, then we need to make sure we do it in a way that balances the compliance cost with all of the other factors.
Well said.
Governor, can you give us a few more details about what Les Wexner's going to do for Marketing Ohio and how?
Well, you know, Rob can give you, you know, I don't really know exactly how it's going to work. Les and I had a conversation, and I told him that one of the most important things we need to do is market our state. You know, you find it everywhere, whether it's Nestle's up in Cleveland or whether it is AEP here in Columbus. When people get to Ohio and they realize, one, there's no traffic. Some of you may think there's traffic. There is no traffic. Two, the cost of living is so much lower here than it is on the coast, and even in places like Chicago. Three, we have great schools. Four, we've got neighborhoods that are terrific, but the issue is, how do you get them here? You know, when they're out somewhere in the east or on the west coast, and they got an ocean, and of course it costs them a fortune to live there. How do you tell people about what we have? How do you tell people about the flats? How do you tell people about the short north? How do we tell people about the exciting ring around Dayton? We have to let them know about this. Because once they know, they want to be here. And there is an element of cool. You might remember I said that, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, that the cool factor matters. Over the Rhine, down in Cincinnati, it's cool. You know, people want to move downtown, and it's happening. In Cleveland, I'm told you can't even rent an apartment there anymore because everybody's gone downtown. So I said to Les, the real issue is we've got to figure out how to get this marketed. He said, well, you know, why don't you let me take a whack at it? And I said, I think that'd be fantastic. So as to how it's all going to work, I can't quite tell you, but I'm excited to have him involved. And I mean, the guy's a brilliant marketer, and we couldn't have anybody better that's showing a great interest in Ohio. And how it's all going to work, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it.
Governor, last week the President of the United States said inequality is the challenge of our time. Do you agree or not agree with that? And what's your position on raising the minimum wage?
Well, first of all, that's going to be a federal deal, and secondly, when it comes to the inequality, I think it's fundamentally connected to education. When you have 24,000 students dropping out of high school, have no degree at all, it sets them up for a lifetime of poverty and failure. And so I think between the pushing of vocational education, something we have not marketed enough yet, but vocational education, we're going to have a program that's going to deal with these people that drop out, with the issue of wraparound services around our schools, like they do in Cincinnati. We're studying that. and making sure they have good health, they're not hungry, then we can begin getting them excited about what their God-given gifts are. I think we can begin to deal with this problem of inequality. And of course, in order to do that, you have to create jobs. So, it's why we maintain a healthy rainy day fund, and we want to keep cutting taxes, and it's everything.
So would you like to see the minimum wage higher?
Senator, you presented it within the context of the economy. We've done some things to make it better, but we need to do more. Governor, do you view this as a jobs economy program, or is it more of a local government helping?
Which thing? You mean
the public works?
No, I mean it shines up the state. It's consistent with everything we're doing, and government has a role in terms of making sure that we take care of our infrastructure. And I mean, there will be people working as a result of this, but it's just like there's people working on the highway, on highway construction. That's good, but our